Hello and welcome to Life in the Fasting Lane podcast. We exist to help you live healthier, longer, and more fulfilling lives through fasting and low-carb feasting. We'll cover topics related to intermittent fasting, extended fasting, a ketogenic diet, and all topics that help or hinder those two things. Each week we'll be here to educate you, challenge you, and encourage you along the way. Check us out at fastinglane.com and on Twitter and Instagram at fastinglane. So tell us about Summer, Bridgette.
Yes. So Summer, I actually don't know. Do you prefer dietitian or nutritionist, or what do you prefer?
You know, any or all, right?
Okay.
They now call us registered dietitian nutritionists as kind of the proper term, but any of them are fine.
Awesome. So Summer is my registered dietitian and nutritionist. We've been working together for like a year and not quite a year and a half, probably a year and a couple months. Right. And Summer introduced me to a high-fat, low-carb diet. And then she also encouraged me to fast. So I was like, Eve is crazy. She's doing this thing. I don't get it. And Summer was like, well, maybe have an open mind and maybe give it a try. And Summer is the third nutritionist that I've worked with in my life. And the first one who has put me on a high-fat, low-carb diet. All the other ones put me on the standard American diet.
Well, Summer, we had to have you on because Bridgette wouldn't shut up about you, basically.
That's true.
So we really had no choice. And we forgot to introduce ourselves. I'm Eve Mayer with Fasting Lane, and you are?
I am Bridgette with Fasting Lane.
That's right, and we're here today. If you're watching the video portion, you're like, what's happening? Eve's getting lit on camera. Because it appears that I have a fancy glass with a salt rim. I want you to imagine it. Picture this right now. Fancy crystal glass, salt rim, icy kind of greenish margarita looking substance. And you're like, geez, Eve, it's,
how do you look so hot and drink that?
Accurate. So for those of you that can't see it, that's what's going on. And what I'm doing is I am actually on day 4 of a 10-day fast, and I'm desperate and hungry and, thinking of hurting people. So one thing I learned today is I was talking to Megan Ramos and Dr. Jason Fung, and she was in support of me having up to 3 tablespoons of lime juice in a day, 3 tablespoons of lime or lemon juice in a day. So I took all 3 tablespoons and I blended it up with some ice and water. Delectable, I know, in the Vitamix. And because you really, when you're doing a complete fast, want to have water and salt, I have a salt rim glass and I'm trying to get my salt in for the day. A lot of times you want to shoot for around 1.5 teaspoons of salt a day. It's different for everybody, but that's kind of a good starting point. So that's what I'm doing. It doesn't taste fabulous, but I actually like virgin margaritas, but this one, of course, has no sweetness to it. And it's pretty sort of tasty.
I'm just drinking water and salt.
Are you fasting today?
Yeah, just 24. Just to support you, Eve, so I don't have to eat in front of you.
Thank God, because I would really be mad. So here we are with Summer. And what else should we know about Summer?
Summer serves individuals with health conditions such as diabetes, cardiovascular disease, oncology, sports nutrition, and wellness. Summer received her undergraduate degree at the University of Tulsa and went on to achieve a Master of Science in Dietetics, emphasizing in health promotion from the University of Oklahoma Health Science Center.
So not only is Summer gorgeous, she is also intelligent and highly educated.
Yes.
Which those are the kind of people we like to have on this show.
Because Eve and I are also both complete catches.
True. Absolutely. So Summer, thank you so much for finally joining us. And I can't wait to hear all about you. I've only worked with a couple of nutritionists a couple of times. It's been quite a while for me. But Bridgette is a client of yours and talks about you all the time. So what is your approach to nutritional counseling? Why do you do what you do in the first place?
Whenever I work with people, I work with groups, individuals like Bridgette. We've had a ball working together. I really just try to take a personalized approach, kind of dive into each person's world, so to speak, meet them where they're at and help them to improve, down that path of wellness. So, if someone comes to me and they're eating fast food 3 times a day, total standard American diet, right? We can't jump right into, keto, intermittent fasting.
Sure.
So I really try to just, meet them where they're at, give them the tools and the education, and help them to kind of work on mindsets that would allow them to be open to the change process. So
I love that because I own fastinglane.com, which is about low carb and keto and intermittent fasting and extended fasting. And I think it is just amazing for so many people, but I don't think it's the answer for everybody. I don't think I have the answer for everybody. Just like I don't think really anyone has all of the answers. And I love that you're saying you meet people where they are, because health is such a personal decision, and so much not only about the body, but about the mind and the lifestyle and what they're used to and the habits and the upbringing and the family of origin. It's interesting to hear a nutritionist speak that way, because I wouldn't be what I expected.
And, honestly, I don't know. I certainly wasn't educated that way. The dietary guidelines, right? The 45 to 65% carbohydrate, no more than 10% saturated fat, right? I mean, that was kind of inbred into our educational piece. And so, certainly my continuing education has all been in holistic nutrition, holistic medicine, for the past 20 years. And so, and then just from the counseling piece, it's very intimate, our food and our health, and helping someone to let go of, that stronghold that we know sugar and carbs have on us all, right?
Yeah.
And so working on the physical piece, while they all may have different backgrounds, many of them, it goes back to, what our society deals us in the food world. So, letting go of the processed carbs and sugars, and, and we know how addictive that process can be. So yeah, it's fun, and getting to be a witness to, people's journeys, and seeing everyone blossom and confidence, and, breaking out of those boxes, that's definitely what keeps me going. So it's fun.
So here's a question I like to interject. So we learned that the standard American diet and the treatment guidelines are just kind of completely backwards. Not kind of, they are. And in medical school, we learned that doctors get very little nutritional training, right? So really, it's not their fault that they're advising their patients to follow the guidelines and the standard American diet. But from a nutrition and dietitian standpoint, it's just everything you learn is just completely backwards.
Unfortunately, right, we know Western medicine is fabulous for acute care, right? But we certainly are not winning the war on chronic disease, or treating the root cause of why people are sick, why people are gaining weight, and why they're sick. And so, unfortunately, the education is still very westernized. I went back about maybe 5 or 8 years ago and did a certification through the governing body of dietitians, just to see, hey, have they come along any? And unfortunately, it was still all about calories, and it was still all, still, there's a small shift, but it's still largely in a therapeutic mode, trying to treat someone after the fact. So yes, the dietary guidelines are completely backwards. They came out originally in 1980, I think, after all of the research that told us fat was bad, right? That said, the Framingham, I think, was probably one of the first studies out there that said cholesterol causes heart disease. High cholesterol is correlated with heart disease. We later found out that was only up until a certain age point, till age 50 for that study. Above age 50, there was absolutely no correlation. Some research after that said, well, we found that saturated fat drives high cholesterol. So therefore, saturated fat and dietary cholesterol must drive heart disease, right? So, fast forward, right, to present day, we still have heart disease, right? It's still the number one leading cause of death for both men and women in the United States. And we're certainly not getting any skinnier following those low cholesterol, low fat guidelines. So, it's kind of a sad story. However, people are catching on more and more, right? We have to get the word out. So I love what you all are doing.
I remember after Low Carb Houston, I was like on fire. I felt like I was blowing up Summer's phone. I'm like, I'm sorry, but all this is just so fascinating. And then I had a visit with her, I don't know, a week or two later. And I was like, Summer, why are the guidelines a crock of you know what? And she was like, I know. And I was like, and you didn't tell me.
Oh,
She was
no.
like, well, but you eat this high fat diet, you eat to the research. And I was like, oh yeah, because if she told me that, I would have been like, you're crazy. Like, can you imagine walking in and the first thing this person says is everything you know is wrong. And you're like,
I would think that was weird.
Right.
Although, why would I think it was weird? I've been fat my whole life. Like, I should be like, oh, well, that totally makes sense.
Well, so then,
but you haven't.
Well, but then, okay, so I take this person who tells me I've met once and she says everything is wrong. So I go to my doctor who has an MD degree and I'm like, what do I do? What is he going to say? Follow the standard American diet. I
agree.
Right.
It's crazy. So basically what you're saying is fat is good for you.
Absolutely.
Which is great news because I'm super good at eating fat. And I've watched you help Bridgette get hotter by the minute. So tell us about fat. Why is fat actually good for you?
Fat is such a crucial part of the human body. I mean, down to the most intricate, minute piece, the cell structure, right? It creates our cell membranes. It's a huge part of our brain. We know whenever we cut fat out back in the 80s, right now dementia is the 5th leading cause of death in the United States, right? And that should not be happening. In fact, we know the highest cholesterol levels are correlated with the best memory in elderly patients. And so the highest
cholesterol levels in elderly patients is correlated with the best memory?
The best memory, right? So that we get some great benefits from cholesterol, right? Fat and cholesterol go into making our sex hormones, our steroid hormones, thyroid function, all kinds of benefits. Plus it keeps us satisfied, right? It keeps us from being hungry and it makes our food taste fabulous, right? So until
I switched to eating a high fat diet, I struggled with my hunger my entire life. 24 years of being obese and hungry all the time, every minute, after bariatric surgeries, after diet, I don't care what it was. I just could not get full. And 4 or 5 months into keto, really, honestly, that's not true. A month and a half into keto, I was like, I don't get it. I'm full. Like, I'm only hungry 4 times a day, which for me was such a relief to be only hungry 4 times a day and not every minute of every day and miserable and obsessed my whole life. So that for me was just, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe how good I felt. I couldn't believe how full I felt, how satisfied, how I could obsess about food less eventually with practice. I'm still obsessed about food, let's be honest. I'm thinking about bacon right now. But, other than that, I feel like it changed my life. And I stopped getting sick. I usually got sick every other month, and now I've been sick once in a year, which has never happened to me in my entire life. So
I remember going to Summer and like, hey, Summer, maybe would it be possible if I could maybe cook an egg or some vegetables and some bacon fat? She was like, go for it. And I was like, what? What? Because my 2 previous nutritionists would have said, well, you only get 3 fats a day. So if you have 2 eggs and a scoop of almond butter, you're out of fat for the day.
Oh my gosh.
And it was just so restrictive. And I was like, I can cook in bacon fat.
That's amazing.
Yes, the satisfaction, and then just the stable energy, the stable mood, right? And being able to disconnect from that consuming, obsession or thought process about food, I think are some of the most important aspects.
So like we were talking about, I'm doing a fast right now.
Mm-hmm.
Bridgette does intermittent fasting. And what's your longest fast? You just a long fast.
96.
96,
so
not 96 days. Nobody freak out,
days.
but 94 days, which is where I'm at right now. Do you remember how you felt on that 4th day?
Hours 72 to like 88, I was on fire.
You look like a brisket,
I was on
like
fire.
a delicious brisket to me right now. Like, when you see those cartoons and the person's a chicken leg.
Yeah,
You look beautiful
that's
today.
the best compliment I've ever received. Bridget, you look like a brisket.
A delicious brisket. Anyway, sorry, I lost my train of thought. So, Summer, how do you feel about intermittent fasting for yourself? Have you ever tried it? What's your story when it comes to fasting?
Certainly as I was studying and learning the research as it was pouring out, just more and more every day it seems like is coming out. I started encouraging it lightly, and I thought to myself, I probably need to try this if I'm going to start to encourage people. So I started out with just a 12-hour. So for me, 12 hours normal, 16-hour is normal also. I'm not a heavy faster, so I've never really gone past 2 days. I've done a 48-hour, but just it gives us all our own aha moments, right? It makes us realize if we ourselves, even as a practitioner, do we have unhealthy attachments? Are we thinking about food just because it's habit instead of truly having a hunger cue? Because, right, we all know the hunger goes down. And so I think it's a fantastic practice to implement. I encourage most all my client base, if they're ready for it, to at least do a 12-hour and to, just start by pushing breakfast back or eating dinner earlier so that they can start to squeeze that gap just to see what the benefits are for their body. So
when you aren't advising people on fasting, but like they're eating 6-7 times a day, like we were kind of advised to do for a while, what is your typical advice on that? Do you have them reduce their snacking? Do you encourage them to eat several times a day? What are your thoughts on that?
Again, it really kind of depends on where someone is when they come in.
Yeah.
Like, if they have the hunger bug and right, I mean, it's just been a free for all, I find that not restricting them, just encouraging them to focus. Okay, number one, making sure they get their water intake, right? I typically encourage half your body weight in ounces per day. Focusing on whole foods instead of processed foods, with the hub of their meal being, moderate sizes of protein, non-starchy, above ground, leafy vegetables, cruciferous vegetables, and then those good unprocessed fats, right? So butters and olive oil and avocados and nuts and seeds and all the things that are going to help them to get a hold on the hunger, get the satisfaction going.
Man, that's so smart. I've learned that as a whole, I don't believe snacking is good. But honestly, I love that you're advising on that because my journey started years ago when I overcame binge eating disorder. And if at that time somebody was like, don't snack and only eat twice a day or 3 times a day, I don't think I could have moved forward to the next steps. I don't think I could have wrapped my head around that mental healing when I learned like I can eat whenever I want as much as I want. Like I needed that first. Then I needed to take the steps forward to take away some of the mental issues with eating to be able to get to, okay, well, I can eat as much as I want in an hour. As much as I want to eat. And that's still what I do. When I eat in an hour window, I eat all that I want. And it's typically healthy fats, meat, and vegetables. Typically green vegetables. But I eat delicious, amazing things. I eat all I want. I don't feel angry because I haven't been told to, I can only have this much, or I'm measuring it, or I'm weighing everything out. Like that really makes me angry. So I'm glad that you're meeting people where they are.
Yeah, and then as hunger comes down, right, then we can start to stretch meals out, right? Instead of eating 6 times a day, maybe we shoot for 4, right? And so we just, all the time working on the mindset to be open, allowing the change to take place physically, because we know our mind is the driver of it all, right? So if we say we have to always eat 6 to 8 times a day, we'll always eat that much. So just again, trying to help that mindset lead them down the path to success.
The number one thing I think that fasting taught me is to truly listen to your hunger. Like, look, if I could not eat for 4 days, do I really need a snack at 3 o'clock to like close the gap between lunch and dinner?
That's interesting.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Probably not.
It's for me just like dealing with stress or emotions, which I'm not a fan of, is really just so difficult for me without food. Like still to this day, it's just difficult. Luckily today there's not much stress in my life, so it's easier. But even when I feel myself get a little stressed or get a little down or even get a little happy, I'm like, where is that thing to eat that goes with this emotion? And so that's the biggest thing I keep trying to practice, having emotions without food, which I really hate, honestly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but also in this country, you're also taught, oh, you're sad, here's a cupcake, or oh, you didn't get the part in the school play, let's go get ice cream to make you feel better. It's like ingrained in in our culture is we deal with things with food, celebrate, we eat food.
Right. Like, so my daughter's 12 and she has started adopting some healthier behaviors because she's watched me, which I'm so grateful for because I taught her the crappy behaviors to begin with. And so it's really interesting to watch. And I was thinking about like, I wanted to get her something special for Valentine's Day. Hopefully she can't hear me. And in the past, I would have gotten her some beautiful chocolates or taken her to Godiva or whatever. And instead, I booked us a couple massage with 2 female massage therapists with hot stones. And I'm going to surprise her with it unless she just heard me. But I'm super excited about it, but I'm trying to find new ways to like treat her. And I was so proud of her because I put like, her stocking was really bizarre this year. It was like half candy, no, that's not true. Like a third candy, a third toys, and a third like sausage and fatty meats. Like it was a really weird combo. And she decided to take all the candy after a couple days and put it into a bag and is going to give it to somebody. I'm like, you're amazing. Now she kept her very favorites. Like, let's not be crazy, but like, she's just making choices to do better, to cut down sugar, to eat. She eats bready things. She eats rice. She eats bread, but she just eats less of them. She eats it less often, and she is just kicking butt.
Oh, that's priceless.
That's why she probably looks like a model. But anyway. All right. What other questions do we have for Summer?
So I want to talk a little bit about, for those who may be listening, about what it's like to work with a nutritionist, right? What's going to happen to me? Am I going to be on some strict diet? So let's talk about Summer, how we got started, and then where we left off today. So one of the first things that Summer, I walked in and then she talked me through the foods that I should be eating, right? So it was a little bit of a lecture, a little bit of a, yes, no, in moderation type thing, right? And then I absolutely hated that she made me do this, but I realized that it helped. I had to write down everything I ate and at what time, and she also made me track my water intake.
Yeah.
So I would go to Summer and I would like throw this notebook on the table, like, yeah, here you go. Here's everything I ate for the past 2 weeks. And then we'd go through it, and then she'd say, okay, well, you had cake and ice cream and 6 cocktails at 8 o'clock. So how'd you feel the next day?
Oh,
right?
God.
And it was beautiful because she wasn't like, this isn't allowed, this isn't allowed.
Like, you're a lush. Like, she wasn't like that.
Yeah,
okay.
She like made me come to my own conclusions on the connection between what you eat and how you feel.
Yeah.
And then I would like go for a huge dinner, and then I wouldn't eat until noon the next day or whatever because I was so full. And then Summer would say, that was a great fast. And I was like, I didn't fast. She was like, but you did. You didn't eat for 16 hours. And I was like, okay, cool. And then eventually we took the food journal away, and then eventually we like were meeting less often. So it was like a toolbox of things that I could use at my disposal. And then we gradually started weeding things out when I either didn't need them or to make me less lenient on like a food journal or whatever.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, my experience with nutritionists is like, 1, I thought was horrible and I did not like her. And 2, I thought were great. I think nutritionists are like doctors or like therapists that you can have a completely different experience with different nutritionists. And I've never done like you though, where I've stuck with a nutritionist for a long period of time, and you have gotten some amazing results. Yeah. So Summer, can you advise people on what's the best way for somebody if they're interested? First of all, where are you located? How can people contact you? And second, if they're not here or you're all booked up, what's the best way to find a good nutritionist?
I am located in Dallas. I'm at Walnut Hill and 75. And, I find there are some different organizations that you can search online. There are different directories. If you search your zip code and, registered dietitian or nutritionist, just do a little research, make sure that, I would actually interview a little bit, call them up, ask them a few questions, what's their practice style? What are their programs like? And, see if it's a one size fits all kind of a program, or if it's something that they're willing to work with you, for truly what you need, and so.
Do you have a website?
I do. My website is just my first and last name. It's summer like the season, and my last name is Lamons, Lamons. So summerlamons.com.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Last question here.
All right, I'm ready.
Summer, what are 3 tips you would give to maybe someone who eats the standard American diet or someone who is looking to lose weight and become healthier? What are your 3 tips that you would throw out on how to get started, or small things they can do to get started on that journey?
So if someone is truly engulfed in the SAD diet, right, the standard American protocol, again, right, our body, the human body is 70% water. So making sure, number one, they're getting themselves hydrated. That's going to take away a lot of the hunger. That's going to take away some cravings. That's going to boost their energy, help their digestion. So making sure they're building up to half their body weight in ounces per day, if at all possible. I would also just encourage them, again, to kind of focus on the hub of their meals, from unprocessed foods, focusing on proteins, healthy fats, and vegetables, above the ground, non-starchy vegetables. And then again, the meal frequency might be the next thing that I would encourage based on where they're at. So if they are very hungry, then they can eat as frequently as they need in the beginning, but really paying attention and listening to their body. So some good mealtime habits are eat when you're seated, right? Try not to get in a habit of eating in front of the fridge or in the pantry or while you're driving or returning the email, because, the mental and the emotional side of food isn't going to get the memo that you're nourishing your body, your physical body. So try to adapt good, healthy mealtime habits. And that's going to help you to get more in tune with those signals.
I love that.
Eat when you're start.
Yeah, eat when you're standing is something that I know, but one of the things I've been struggling with is, okay, so I'll go and I haven't eaten for 24 hours. So I'll go and make a meal in the kitchen, and then it's like, okay, well, it's time to eat. So here's like cheese and meat and nuts. And then I sit down to eat and I'm like, I ate all this already. Why did I make this huge meal? And then I'm less hungry to eat the meal. So I like that. Eat when you're sitting.
Yeah. So make your meal instead.
Yeah.
Well, Summer, thank you so much. Can you please give out your website one more time?
Sure. It's summerlamons.com. That's Summer, SUMMER, Lamons, LAMONS.com.
And you guys have been listening to Life in the Fasting Lane with Bridgette and Eve. Check us out at fastinglane.com and on Twitter and Instagram at fastinglane. To your health and hotness, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to Life in the Fasting Lane.